I remember when I was 10 years old and I had an obsession with mazes. I love to create them. And I remember one time my mom buying me a blank book, right? You could buy these books that were just all blank pages and there was no cover on them. And you could do artwork and put whatever you wanted inside. You could scrapbook. But I made mazes. I made an entire book of mazes, and I love to design them and create pictures and just make them interactive and a way to express my creativity. I remember when I finished that book, how proud I was to have like a completed project. That was my first creative project that I ever did and created and was able to share with others. I've had the pleasure of reading somebody else's completed project, Merak, Merak, Hunt for the Black Wolf. This book is written by Gabriel J. Chabot. A lot of people whose dream it is to publish a book, but few reach that finish line. So congratulations to you, Gabriel. Before we get more into it, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Ethan, and this is my channel where I talk about all things writing. This is a community where I really want to build writers who care about other writers and are looking to improve their craft. So if that is something that interests you, go ahead and hit subscribe and hit like and enjoy the video. All right, so first, the overview. Merak is a fantasy light adventure book. I say fantasy light because it's a really grounded world. It doesn't feel like super far out of the realm of possibility. In this book, you're not going to have mythical races, you're not going to have dragons, there's not spell slinging. It is, for the most part, a very just normal world with some names, that feel fantastical. And then there are some parts where that fantasy element and that magic and that mysticism start to touch the story. The first thing that I have to mention about this book is the introspective prose. It's very reflective. The writing is thoughtful and beautiful to read. That's a writing style I have grown quite fond of, actually, and it's a writing style that I like to emulate. The first few chapters of the book go through a lot of character development and setup for the plot. That was the slowest part of the book for me, and the prose is what held the story together for me. It took me a few chapters to really get into the story, to feel connected to the characters, but the writing itself is what kept me engaged through those first few chapters. The book centers around a main character named Theon, and he is a father and a hunter. And the story sort of surrounds him and the issues, the challenges, and the tribulations that he faces, both as the duty of a father and a hunter within this community. Early on in the story, there's this moment where our hero has to take on a quest. The story really got gripping when he started the actual hunt for the Black Wolf. That is the sort of object, right, or the fixation of the story. Hunt for the Black Wolf is part of the title of the book, and it's a big central point to the characters for both allegorical reasons and for plot devices as well. And once Theon enters the woods, the story really starts to pick up pace, and then I started to lean in, and that line between reality, right, and the fiction starts to blur, or you could call that immersion. I felt myself getting immersed in the writing. I loved the environment, the interactions between characters. They felt very natural. I loved the way that Basla felt. And it's a city within Merak, and the way it operated with these guilds being sort of the driving force of the economy and the culture and everything kind of centered around these specific jobs, I felt like was great world building and made that city feel very unique, right? Like it felt like that was the culture of the place. Another aspect of this book that I really enjoyed, and it's not really something I ever thought of, is the short chapter lengths. most of the chapters are just a few pages, which make the pace feel really fast, which I tend to like. If a book is going to be fast or slow, I would tend to enjoy, read, and write towards the quick end of things. And the short chapters really kind of suck you in because you say, oh, one more chapter, but then that only ends up being about 3 pages. You say, oh, why not one more? One thing that this book could really benefit from, I think, is a map. I know it's cliche for a fantasy book or a fiction book to have that map, you know, like a Lord of the Rings Middle Earth map. But it would be so cool. It would be so cool. The map that appears in this story actually plays a big part within the story. And I think when you have that extra connection, right, it's not just here's the world that exists and you can see it, but the actual, you're examining the map, and when the characters talk about the map, you have that to look at. It just makes it a little bit like an extra step of immersion. So this book had adventure, it had action, it had love, it had drama, connection, all that good stuff. I would have to give this a 9 out of 10. The only thing that that has a negative impact to the score at all is that from time to time the pacing just felt a little bit rushed, right? So at the start it feels, I said the start was slow, but I really kind of like that slower pace. I think that exploring more depth, right? So the story bounces back and forth between a few different parties within the story, and I think that some more exploration with those characters would have been interesting. For a criticism to say you want more of something, right, and that I wouldn't complain if there was an extra 100 pages to this book, really is more of a compliment than anything else. The scores don't really mean anything, and it's like the game show, TV show Whose Line Is It Anyway? It's like the points are made up and they don't matter. My scoring, I don't have a scoring system. I think I used out of 5 last book review, and I'm doing it out of 10, so I'll just make up a new point system maybe for every video. If you would like to check out the book, I will have the link to the Amazon page in the description below. Gabriel Chabot also co-hosts a podcast. I will leave a link to their channel in the description below as well. And once again, I just want to wish Gabriel a congratulations on this book. It is a feat. It was fun to read, and I hope to read more from you in the future. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you would be so kind as to leave a like on this video, a comment on some thoughts, consider subscribing as well. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.